5 months of the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, people in the war-ravaged region are grappling with a deteriorating humanitarian disaster. Israel says that it will continue its operations till Hamas is eliminated. But in the besieged street, the situation is worsening. Parts of northern Gaza have already descended into a catastrophic famine. These are images from outside a refugee camp west of Gaza City. A group of children raised their voices through the clanging of pots and pans. Despite international pleas to help, Israel is only allowing a trickle of aid to enter the enclave where 2.3 million people are desperate for food and other necessities. The aid can enter the Gaza Strip from the existing crossings, namely Kerem, Shalom, and Rafah from Egypt, but Israel is blocking these gateways. The U.S. has been pushing Israel's prime minister to allow more aid, but that isn't happening. Now the U.S. is looking at some alternative routes. The U.S. has been airdropping aid on Gaza along with some other nations, but it's not enough. There is also a ship which is headed to Gaza from Cyprus carrying aid. The Biden administration also plans to build a temporary port to deliver aid, but that would take a long time. The U.S. plan has been roundly criticized as being insufficient. Now Washington is pushing for a new maritime corridor for getting humanitarian aid into Gaza.
A short while ago, I did a video conference with colleagues from Cyprus, from the United Kingdom, the UAE, Qatar, the European Union, and the United Nations to coordinate our efforts in getting this maritime corridor up and running.
Biden's support for Israel's war on Gaza is seemingly hurting him here at home. Countrywide, 57% of Americans are unhappy with the president's handling of the Israel-Gaza conflict, and 67% want a permanent ceasefire there. In an election year, nearly 400,000 primary voters across multiple states have abandoned Biden, choosing to vote uncommitted instead. Experts say that President Biden needs to do something immediately, or else the public anger would only get worse. All right. Well, for more on this, we are being joined by Mr. Jacob Oledort from Washington, D.C. He is Director of Research at GINSA's Gemunder Center for Defense and Strategy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Susan, for having me.
Should Biden be doing more to pressure Israel to allow more aid into Gaza?
I want to step back a little bit and respond to some of your commentary at the top. There's one word that we learned, which is the reason for the aid not coming in, that is UNRWA, right? And we now know that there are a number of UNRWA staff that have been involved potentially in the October 7th attack. So we need to put this into context. The reason the aid is not coming in is because Hamas has been using it, as it has been over the last 18 years, as it's been using the entire Gazan population as human shields, as it launched attacks into Israel. Now, we here at GINSA a month ago put out a report based on over 100 interviews with former and current government officials across the United States and the Middle East, and trips to the region, in which we called for inserting humanitarian assistance alongside resolving the power vacuum that will emerge in the day after Gaza. And the report recommends beginning at the top in northern Gaza, which has been cleared virtually of Hamas control. So to answer your question, of course, humanitarian aid should be swiftly sent into Gaza. But the reason, let's be clear on the reason it's not going in, and that is because Hamas is still there. Hamas is blocking that aid. It's been firing at innocent Gazans trying to access the aid. That is all the reason. That makes Israel's operation to eliminate Hamas that much more complicated.
Yeah, it's also disturbing. We saw these images of children, playing with pots and pans and protesting. Hamas has often used children as a tool for propaganda, which is just so disturbing to watch as well. President Biden, some say, needs to do more because of the rising public anger here in the United States in an election year. But could what he's doing in the path that he's taking hurt him in the campaign moving forward?
I'm not an expert in American politics, so I can't weigh in on that point. But I will say, obviously, the day after in Gaza is a highly complex situation. It won't happen in a day. It requires a de-radicalization effort as well that the report mentions, and that can be found on our website, jinsa.org. As you mentioned, Hamas has been indoctrinating, training children through textbooks, by the way, facilitated by UNRWA, which has also provided its locations, its buildings as storages for rockets that Hamas has used. So this will take time. It will take the participation of our partners in the region, those willing and with the capacity to commit. So it will take time and will endure beyond this year, probably.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Mr. Jacob Olador from Washington, D.C. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon as we follow this story very closely.
Thank you, Susan.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.